would you like to make if everybody knows the gig, but I'll just say public comments are agenda item number 2. Please fill out a card if you haven't done so already. So you don't move a public comment. We have 3 minutes, but I believe everybody here knows all that. So we're going to take right on to number 2 on our agenda. It's our dedicated time for the board to receive public comments. We will start with Amber Baker.
Good evening again. Okay, so I wrote Mr. Long about this already, but I wanted to state to you guys how much that my family appreciates him. So as you know, Mr. Long, some of you might know, Mr. Long emceed the 1st through 3rd grade LEGO League showcase, and he was awesome. He again did it at the band orchestra choir concert last week. And my eldest son said after LEGO League event that Mr. Long was the best MC he ever had for Fun Run. But Mr. Long's abilities don't stop there. He continues to go above and beyond for all the kids in the schools. Being Mr. Zero at on the Doherty roof for the 100th day of school, I think that was you.
Yeah, that was me. Don't tell the kids that though. I still have them shreds.
And remembering all the kids' names that have been in his school. I also wanted to mention how much I appreciate his presentations and his presentations while he's been an administrative assistant for learning services, and how informative they are, and how he's always available to answer questions about them. So thank you. On another note, for a recommendation for next year, could we have the principals or social workers that work at, that know the students come and visit the new school So old principals in the new school go and visit a month later, after the first month of school, and visit with the students. Let this meet in small groups during the day with the students, and have the kids share good things and bad things with a trusted adult that they used to see it and talk to every day. The kids might surprise you with the things that they think would help or things that could be improved, and they might be more willing to share with an old friend coming to visit them and see how they are. Mrs. Jennings could be that person for Roosevelt students, because she knows all the kids. I know my kids would jump to see Mr. Spitzley again, and it would show that they are not forgotten, even if they have moved on to another school.
Thanks. Thank you very much. First one.
Yes. I'm like the most ungraceful preschool person. I want to echo the same thing that Amber said. It was awesome for your emceeing staff. It was fantastic. On a positive, I'm thankful to hear that color guard is coming back to West Bloomfield School District as someone who made a career out of teaching collegiate color guard. Yay! So I'm super excited about that. And go. All right, tonight I'm asking you once again to listen to your community, quoting the board policy, act as a truly representative body for citizens in all matters related to programs and operations. I agree that your work is a dynamic process and per your board norms. Therefore, there is always room for review and positive change. You have additional and new information, so please collectively review it. Consider making a positive change. Be the change you wish to see. So accept the most recent offer to purchase Roosevelt. Begin to repair relationships. Make a fiscally responsible decision that benefits the district's budget, specifically general fund programming for our kids. Make a positive change that will benefit the district in the future. Your work is dynamic, therefore there is always room for review and positive change. So tonight I'm asking you to be that change.
Ellen.
I brought presents today. I'll be quick, but this book, when my daughter started middle school, all the parents were recommended to read it, and it's called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, How We Can Learn to Fulfill Our Potential. It's by Carol Dweck, and the quote is, the author illuminates our beliefs about how our capabilities exert tremendous influence on how we learn and what paths we take in life. And everything about this book is about learning, and I would like to gift a copy to each board member. If you don't want your copy, please gift your copy to the middle school or the high school library. But the reason why I point this out to you is because I think in this whole process, there's all these stuck things, right? Of like, there are certain factors that feel like this is the way things are, and there's something, whatever it is, outside of your control, and that this is how it has to be. And a growth mindset looks at that as opportunity to rethink and look at things differently. And very successful people do that and model that in our world around us. It is a great thing to model for our students. And I thought maybe you'd find some inspiration in this. And even if you don't, please, again, give to your copy because it's really great for and then for teachers or students or anyone who might be interested.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just,
You just cancel this, thank you.
okay, thank you.
I do have that at home, but I will absolutely give them to the administrative team and they can pass it down.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thanks. Christian.
Hi, everybody. Are you ready to hear what the Eagle report says? Okay. I will tell you about it. We all know that when the asbestos abatement specifications were put together by ARCH and by TMP in January of 24, they called for all plaster walls and ceilings on the second and the third floor of Roosevelt to be abated and removed. There was a good reason. ARCH had sample tested and found that these plaster walls contained cancer-causing asbestos, and since these walls and ceilings were not homogeneous, they made the removal of all plaster walls and ceilings totaling 65,000 square foot a requirement of the official bid specifications. And they look like that, so basically it's all red, other they need to be removed from the second and third floor. This is the good news. That's the good news. The bad news is that a few days before the bids were due, on February the 16th of 2024, the bidding contractors had been secretly asked to quote on a falsified asbestos area map. They were asked to quote on this, not on this. This never made it into the official bid specification. This was given to the contractors. It's not a joke. This is not a joke. One of the contractors sent me the evidence. These falsified maps were made in secret and were never part of the specifications as posted on the AUX official website. To any reasonable person, this should raise a very big red flag. This explains why the bids came in unexpectedly low, between $93,000 and a couple $100,000. Mr. Stottlemyre and Mr. Gross, who are here today, I think, reviewed the three bids and presented them to the Board of Education during the March 18th board meeting. During that presentation, board member Mrs. Finkelstein questioned the validity of these bids because they were strikingly low. Mr. Stottlemyre and Mr. Gross verbally defended the bids, found them reasonable, and recommended the $93,000 bid. I expected, like a reasonable person, that the board would engage, but they didn't. So without any further discussion, the board voted, I think it was 4-2, and awarded the asbestos abatement contract to Environmental Maintenance and Engineering of Inkster for $93,000. If I personally had not challenged Eagle, who traditionally is only reactive and not proactive, if I hadn't continually challenged them, and if I had not been able to get a confession by one of the contractors,
Thank you.
yeah, okay, to,
Thank you.
you don't want to hear the rest?
Send whatever you want, an email.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Doesn't sound very good.
Okay.
I would suggest that perhaps at the end of the meeting, you consider revoting and offer the building for sale, because it's not only pretty.
Thank you. Mrs.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it, Liz?
Yes.
Okay, number 3 on our agenda is peer participant review. Mr. Eric Pierce, Westmoreland High School Athletic Director, will address.
I'll see you, okay.
Welcome, Mr. Pierce.
Well, thank you everybody for allowing me to come in and present today. I appreciate it. Forgive the sunglass tan and kind of chips right now. I just came off of the baseball field, so I'm here to talk a little bit about athletic finance right now. And with athletic finance, one of the things that jumps out right away, and the MHSA, the Michigan High School Athletic Association, has been saying it for years, the amount of officials that we have has been going down, their age has been going up, and they're in short supply. And when everything's in short supply and high demand, prices go up. The west side of the state immediately responded to this by giving their officials a huge raise a couple years ago. We had a contract with our officiating groups, and when I say we, I'm talking about the Southeast Michigan Leagues and Conferences. We're part of a big group that had a contract with them from the fall of 22 that expires in the spring of 2024 right now. So one of the things that's coming forward is obviously the officials are demanding a huge increase to represent what they saw on the west side of the state. So a new agreement was negotiated for the fall of 24 all the way through the spring of 27. And basically what happens in this new agreement for officials is it brings about a 30% increase on average for the different officials for our events. Now, the 30% is kind of like a little partial piece of this tale, because a lot of our events that we have numerous events in, for instance, basketball, baseball, other sports like that, where there's a number of games as opposed to football where there's just a few at home, have been giving significant increases. For instance, a basketball official was making $75 a game under our previous agreement. They'll be making $115 a game now. A baseball umpire was making $70 under our previous agreement. They'll be making $100 a game now. So you see there's quite a bit of cost that's increased here when it comes down to it. To give you some background, we spend over $40,000 a year on officials for West Bloomfield schools. And that's a cost that obviously is going to go up. We can expect to see an increase by about $20,000 to $25,000 in that, based upon the amount of home events. So a couple of things come into play here. One of the things is we want to come up with some ideas to help offset the cost, because in addition to official costs, there's other costs that are around as well. Our coaches received a well-deserved raise in Schedule B last year, which amounted to a couple $100 per coach. But at the same time, when you take it over the amount of sports that we have, that was over a $35,000 increase in the budget. In addition to that, the cost of athletic supplies is constantly going up and up and up and up. Something as simple as football reconditioning for helmets, where we have to send in our helmets every single year to make sure they're safe and that the student athletes can wear them. That went from around $10,000 for all of our helmets, which was about $200, and now it's about $14,500. So there's another just increase in something small like that we have to do every single year. So as athletic directors in the OAA in our league, we've been seeing this coming, and we've been trying to come up with different ideas as far as how to spread these costs around. One of the ideas that people said was, hey, well, you know, it's been $5 to get into our games for years. Why don't we just raise the gate fee? A number of schools are hesitant to do that because they don't want to punish the people that are coming to the games, that want to see their grandchildren, that want to see their nephew, their niece, so on and so forth. There are a couple of schools in the OAA that have increased it, but unless it's a universal thing, we don't want to get involved with that type of thing. The second thing is pay to participate. Pay to participate is currently present in 13 out of the 22 schools in the OAA. West Bloomfield had pay to participate up until 2 years ago. We did receive some extra funding through the time through COVID funds, and we thought that, you know, we could help by taking away pay to participate to help ease people and get them back into participating in athletics and other activities if we took that away. The 13 out of the 22 schools vary in how they charge pay to participate. Some of them do it by sport, some of them do a one-time fee. In West Bloomfield, we've done both of these things before. When pay to participate first started in 2008, 2009, we did it on a tiered system. So your first sport was $300, your second sport was $150, third sport was $100. Middle school was $200, $100, $50, and $50 for the 4 different seasons that we could do. We then switched a couple years back to a one-time fee of $325 at the high school and $225 at the middle school. Obviously, the one-time fee made things a little bit easier and cleaner to collect, And it also, I feel, encouraged more participation because you've already paid the fee one time. Why not go out for that second sport? Why not participate in track in the spring when you've already paid for football or tennis or whatever in the fall? So that's something that we've done, that we had done before we took the pay to participate away a couple of years ago. So pay to participate is the second thing, and as I said, 13 out of the 22 schools in the OAA have pay to participate fees. There's also schools like the Farmington schools that don't currently charge pay to participate fees, but they have significant booster fees for each sport, which amount to more than what the pay to participate fees would. The third thing is just to eat the cost, and that's a tough cost to eat basically there, because it's a lot of money that we're gonna need over the next few years. And as you can imagine, everything's still going up and up and up and up. You know, a set of new uniforms isn't $1,200 anymore, it's $5,000 depending on the sport. You know, football uniforms are $30,000. So it's a lot of money when it comes down to those types of things. I talked a little bit about the history of pay to participate down there. One of the things that I neglected to mention was if we do have free and reduced lunch students that fill out the waiver for free and reduced lunch, they do get 50% off of the pay to participate fee. So for the 325, we said 160 for the free and reduced. For the high school, 225, it was 110 for the middle school. There is also a family cap that we've had in the past as well of $800. That puts us pretty much in line with everybody else that's currently charging pay to participate. I don't know if you have the chart of the pay to participate, Liz, do you, of the different schools that have it? If you scroll down, it's gonna be pretty far down there probably. But it will show you a little bit about, here we go. These are the different charges for the different schools and how they do it, how they break it down based on whether it's sport or whether it's a one-time fee. And if you scroll down further, it shows the middle school sports as well. You can also see that there's family caps that are involved in this also for the different schools. A lot of schools have decided that they are gonna go and whether they're gonna increase the pay to participate fee, how much they're gonna increase it by, and whether they're gonna switch to charging by sport if they're charging the one-time fee. My suggestion would be not to go by sport if we are going to implement the pay to participate again. Final forms. We use a registration software in West Bloomfield School District called Final Forms for all our athletes to register on. It gives us all their information, and they sign all their waivers, all those different types of things. The great thing about Final Forms is it would help us collect the pay to participate fees, so it wouldn't make it necessary to have like another person in my office to have to do that. So it would kind of control costs there. In the past, we had another secretarial position that was in my office that was primarily looking over fees and trying to help us collect those things, and it wouldn't be necessary with Final Forms around. Also with Final Forms, it gives us data that can help us understand exactly what pay to participate can do for us. Currently, there's 1,130 students that have participated on a sports team this year for both high school and middle school combined. 1,700 are registered, 1,130 have participated. Now, if you think about the amount of money that could be brought in based off of charging the fee, the one-time fee, whether it's the 325, the 225, or the 50% of all those things, we're talking about a potential for a couple $100,000 that could come back into our general fund and be used for things to help support our educational activities here. In addition to that, Final Forms makes it easier to collect, like I said. What they do is they put a Stripe account onto the Final Forms, and this Stripe account puts a 4% fee on top of the pay to participate fee and automatically puts it into our account from West Bloomfield, the dollars paid for pay to participate. Yes, the 4% does go, once again, to the person that's paying the fee. It's not the school district that would do it. It comes, so 325 would really be, you know, in the area of $350, right around there, okay? So, when you think about all of this in terms of athletics and the rising costs and all the things that we've talked about here that contribute to the rising cost of athletics, I think it's necessary to go back to a pay to participate structure here. My suggestion would be to, if we are doing this, to go to a one-time fee. It makes it clean, it makes it easy. I think it does still encourage participation. When we had pay to participate in the past, we saw pretty similar numbers in terms of the amount of people that participated in our sports. So the argument that, hey, you're gonna see decreased numbers, It doesn't really happen like that. And I will tell you this from the bottom of my heart, because this is as true as it gets. If there's a family that ever came up to me, ever since I started in athletics 10 years ago, and said there's absolutely no way that we can afford this fee, but we still want our son or daughter to participate, we will find a way to make it happen. We have families that are willing to contribute for them. We have different areas where they can volunteer. So I don't think this is prohibitive in terms of participation. Our student athletes, when they go and they participate in their travel teams or AAU teams or any 7-on-7s, they're paying way over these fees for a short season. We offer them like a 12, 13, 14-week season in some of our seasons for a pretty low price when it comes down to it. So that's the basis behind of the information, and I know you guys received all the other information that I had, but I'm willing to take any questions that you have about this.
Just a comment?
Yeah.
A couple comments. I support going back to pay to participate. The bigger picture part of this, we did talk about this in finance, is that the athletic budget is in excess of $1 million.
Correct.
And so this is not just, raking in a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's helping to offset $1 million outlay every year.
Absolutely.
And I think that needs to be,
It's actually growing.
For sure.
It's growing, exactly. Now it's gonna grow, so this is just helping to, I think, find that balance. And I also think it's important for kids and families to put some skin in the game. And we talked about that otherwise, hey, I can sign up for 12 different sports and maybe I show up, maybe I don't, whatever. I don't care, I'm not paying.
And that's a wonderful point. And this would, and I think I gave the example before, with our middle school football team this past year, we had 60 kids, 60 students that were signed up for our middle school football team. Our coaches were a little at wit's end because we outfitted all those students, we did everything, we gave them their helmets, shoulder pads, everything. And about 20 of those students every single day didn't want to participate. They tried to get them motivated, get them out there and everything of that nature, and they just wanted to sit on the side. And that becomes a liability because the coaches have to, and rightfully so, have to watch them, whereas they're not participating in practice with everybody else. So it does encourage those that generally do want to participate to go out there and play. And you're 100% correct with the budget of athletics. We offer a robust athletics program here, and that's something that we're proud of with 39 varsity sports, and it's amazing. But those sports cost money. And it's fantastic to see all our student athletes out there and involved. And the big thing about it is we want to put them in a position where they're having fun, they're having a great educational athletic experience, and they're safe. And in order to do that, we have to do the things that we do and provide them with the stuff that we provide them with every single day. So that's another great point.
And I would just add that many families and students are paying for club sports.
Mm-hmm.
So to have everything is free to everything costs, to manage those club sports. I don't think that's a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's such a good thing.
And I do appreciate that you go, and quietly handle things when somebody really can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
You find a way and nobody needs to know, you just take care of it.
For sure.
So no kids left out.
Everybody has something.
I do. I think that at $1 million, for me, it would be great to see some detail. So we have this, $1 million is a lot of money, right? So to say, hey, now we're gonna charge parents, then how much does that offset? What percentage does it offset? A little bit more details before we say, hey, you know what, parents just pay. But what are we doing when they pay? Are we knocking down into the $1 million by how much? So what amount should the parents pay? When we flash the chart about the other schools, I'm noticing that Birmingham had a very low pay to play, right? And no family limit. Rochester again had no family limit and had what are they doing? So are we tapping into some of our other districts and say, hey, how are you guys and what is your budget like? Or just have some conversations. So I would just like to see some more information before we say, we're gonna charge the parents. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, I'm just saying how much of that eats into it, because when a parent says, I can't pay, then we know why we voted for that.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing too, when we think about from a parental perspective, $300 may be a lot for any family. So do we have then a pay structure, or with the final forms, can they pay over time? Or an 800 family count, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is public school. So is there something that we can do? So I guess I would like to see just a little bit more in terms of planning and execution. And how are we eating away at that budget? What are we doing to take away some of those costs? If we got 39 sports, maybe we need 38, I don't know. But how do we chip out that budget before we just say, hey, everybody go pay for playing and here's a number? What does that mean?
No, and I agree with you right there. And a couple of things that, to just address what you said a little bit, the money that comes in for pay to participate does go into the general fund for the school, for however the school does see fit to spend that. Now, the hope is that it eases some of the money that's being spent in other places so that there's the money in athletics doesn't necessarily hurt as much, right? And that's kind of the big basis for it. In terms of a payment plan, yes, we always offer that. One of the things that Final Forms does is it gives the administrator the right to go in and change certain things on the account, on the student's account. And we always say that on Final Forms, red means stop, means the student can't participate, like they don't have their physical in, they haven't filled out all the waivers, all those different types of things. Green means go, they're good to go. When it comes down to the financial piece, if they put down a down payment, then you better believe that my office is gonna go in there and say, yes, this person, we've got an arrangement with them, they're gonna be able to participate, and we've got some type of deal where they're gonna pay throughout the time that they can, and make it as easy as possible for them to do those things.
I think can you just explain the family cap? Maybe not everybody understands that.
Yeah,
There's
so-
some question that as well.
Yeah, the family cap would be, what we've had in the past is $800, and you know,
Like I have 3 kids and they're in multiple
for
sports.
sure. If you have a couple, if you have 3 students in the West Bloomfield School District, whether it's, 2 at the high school, 1 at the middle school, 800 is the highest you can go. And 800 could be, we could make it higher, we could make it lower, or whatever. That's just what we've had in the past when it comes down to the family cap. And that's where we stop saying, we say, hey, we want everybody to be involved. We don't want this to be cost prohibitive for you. So this is what you can see. You have 4 kids in our school district, $800 is all you're gonna pay. They can participate in as many sports as they want to at that point in time.
You have 6 kids, $800 is the most.
Exactly, yeah, 100%.
I just wanna make sure there's clarity on. This is part of your budgeting process.
Yes, so this is in the budget book that you'll get today, you'll have the full athletic budget, with it in detail, correct, Nancy? Yes, so the athletic budget is included. Basically, the pay to participate, we can only estimate it based on how many middle school and high school come in, but it will be anywhere between low end 200, high end 300, depending on how many middle school and
Where it
high
was
school
when we used
students.
to do it.
Yeah, we looked at previous year in 2021 to look at what that would do. The concern is with the increased cost to the referees and things like this, those things we're gonna see a net increase of, 70,000, 80,000 next year, just on those things. Those are out of our control, those are agreements. So you'll have the budget, and then, again, if you have 1,130, we took an average between the high school cost and the middle school, that's kind of where we're getting that number, but it's gonna depend on how many kids participate each year for us to know that. But based on what we've seen in the past, it would be around the number that we provided.
Absolutely.
There is? Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you, everybody, I appreciate it.
Agenda item number 4 is our intergovernmental agreement, tech support services and business office support services. And Mr. Sharp, our director of technology field services for high schools, will address the board.
Hi, everybody.
Mr. Sharp.
Okay, so we, in the end of June, our IGA expires. And 2013 is the first year of the technology IGA. And so, what I'm bringing you tonight is 2 separate IGAs. Kind of roll them into the same slide here, but essentially the business controller is one IGA that is a 3-year, so fiscal 25, next July to June is how we follow the fiscal calendar at the school. And so 25, 26, and 27, that is our fiscal controller in the business office. And then our technology services is a 5-year IGA, that takes us through fiscal '25. And we did reduce, technology assistant. That's our entry level position that we have with the team. We currently have 3, we're going to 2. That's in reflection of one for obviously budgeting purposes, but also due to the footprint in our building. We have less buildings next school year, so. Are there any questions? But yeah, that's for that one.
Any other questions on that? I mean, we looked at the agreement earlier, like that very long ago, so
Mhm.
everybody's solid on it? Okay.
Solid.
Okay, we're gonna move on to number 5, agenda item number 5 is our tech equipment purchase review.
Okay, so I generally come to you every May and say,
Can we have some money?
I do that intentionally.
It's like having our own kid.
Right, yeah, I'm not doing it right before Christmas though, or birthdays or anything like that.
You're turning very red.
I do it in May, one, so I can get the equipment in time, so I can meet whatever the fiscal requirements are for the fiscal spending year. I do it also because in April, the REMC spot prices come out. And remember, REMC is the school and libraries program that allows us, it's a statewide bid for all things technology. And we generally see like a 10 to 30% discount if we wait for that window. So what I do at the end of, like in the December timeframe, I say, West Bloomfield's probably going to need laptops and probably going to need Chromebooks. And then every school in the state does that same process. And then the REMC program actually goes out, they bid it, and then that drives price down because they're saying there's a potential for a lot of purchases of this particular equipment. So that's why I always come in May, just so everybody's kind of aware. So the first one I have a request is we have laptops. We need 50 laptops just to kind of rebuild our inventory and to make sure that we have, if a teacher's laptop breaks, we can give them a replacement while we're fixing the one that they had before, and also for new teaching staff. We work very closely with our HR team, so when a teacher does leave, we collect that equipment. We generally refurbish that, make sure everything's working well, clean it up, and roll that back out. But there is, over the course of a year, we do generally check an additional 50 out if something's gets broken or anything like that. Any questions on laptops?
We just bought new laptops for everybody a year ago?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that was, this one kind of had me questioning,
Sure.
because as we are losing staff and we may not be replacing some of them, again, we're getting these laptops back and refurbing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, if I'm a new teacher hiring in, am I gonna be getting a brand new one or potentially a refurb? It seemed like a lot, given the fact that we are shrinking in our staff size. That seemed like a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not, I'm not the expert, but I had questions, because they're only a year old.
Right.
And if they're not lasting after a year and they're, getting that beat up, what's going on, See where I'm coming from, Jim?
I do, for sure. I love the question. 50 on average is about what we, throughout a school year, about what we deploy from broken or just lost, stolen. We have quite a, well, not quite a bit, but we have lost, stolen. And when I say broke, I don't mean like a keyboard popped off or, you know, something, I'm talking like the screen just is completely annihilated or, and unfortunately that happens, you know, being a mobile device like this, they end up in bags and, you know, teachers are great, they do their best to take care of it, but accidents happen. So this is just based off of historical number, we generally roll out about 50 throughout the year.
I do have a concern now that you mentioned about lost and stolen.
Yes.
I mean, teachers are losing their laptops. Just saying, that's like, you see what, I mean, you can see where I'm going here.
Yeah, so generally when that happens, we ask for a police report.
Yeah, I would hope so,
Yep.
because, yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
these are not inexpensive things and.
Right.
All right, but I'd like to not be replacing 50 every year for, I mean, how many staff do we have?
I was gonna say, how many is
How
there?
many laptops did we order last year? About 600?
So, I mean, you're
About
talking
10%.
close to 10% in a year. And do, you know, if these were 3, 4, 5 years old, I probably wouldn't have even asked about it.
Oh, I understand.
But they're a year old.
Right.
And
So maybe these are the touchscreen, right? So is it maybe because they're the touchscreen? I know they appreciate the touchscreen, but is that, do you think it's more, susceptible for breakage or?
No, I mean,
No?
frankly, just because they're mobile and the teacher,
And
I mean, our
they're moving
teachers
all
are
over
doing
the place.
exactly what we're asking them to do,
Yeah.
right? To take it, you know, home, to be able to work from home, or, you know, to another classroom, or to a meeting, to a conference, so they're doing exactly what we hope they do. And, you know, I'd love to say that they don't break, you know, that they don't get dropped on accident or things, it just really happens.
I get it, the dog jumps on your couch, I get it, you know,
Mhm.
stuff happens, and I get it. But again, if we're doing, these are a year old and we're replacing 10% of them already, and gonna probably do that every year. And then at some point, a few years down the road, you're gonna say, guess what, they all have to be done again.
Right.
I mean, it's a bottomless, you know, pit of money for it, and it's a durability thing, and I don't know what the answer is. It doesn't sit well, it just doesn't sit well. I mean, I'm always gonna give the teachers what they need,
Sure.
no question,
Right.
but is there something we could be doing differently, better? Sleeves, is there some, you know, what can we do? Because this is a lot of money every year. So. I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. Okay, so the next one is our middle school Chromebook refresh. We're at the end of life for those devices.
You might wanna explain end of life.
Yeah, so Google has a built-in end of life. They just expanded it, by the way, but unfortunately this group is not. That from date of manufacture, you basically have 5-year kind of countdown. And when it hits the end of that 5 years, they call that end of acceptable use for a Chromebook. So what that means, it's very similar to our iPhones or our Samsungs, where if it's old enough, you don't get the newest iOS update or the newest Android update. Google has had it, they started out at 3 years when we first ventured into this, you know, back in 2014. They expanded it out to 5 years. That really, from the 2021 timeframe, they expanded out to 9 years. So that makes me really, really happy. But these devices are at that end of life. Does it still work? Yes, but it can't be updated, it can't be used for state testing, it can't be used for any sort of assessment.
Problems.
And then we run into the cybersecurity issues where it gets so far out, we actually block it from our network because it's not safe on our network any longer.
So just
Just a question, they still work,
Yes.
right? Does REMC or any other organization take all of the, we'll say, obsolete devices that we're not gonna use anymore and resell them? And do we get any sort of funds back for that?
So there's a couple answers to that, and we've done multiple. We've offered them at auctions before, we've wiped them and offered them at auctions before. I have to, because it's purchased with public funds, I can't just sell it to our families only, I have to make it public.
Absolutely.
We've done that in the past. We've paid to recycle, not us, we get paid for the recycling. And that's truly a recycle program where they're really kind of stripping out all the valuable electronics in it, but giving us certified destruction copies to make sure that like hard drives, anything like that is permanently wiped. And there are buyback programs. So we've done all of those, and to be honest, it's really kind of wherever the most money is, that's the process that we'll do.
Sure.
Whoever will give us the most money.
But we do something.
We do, we don't just throw them in the garbage or anything like that, we
Okay.
look for ways to get money out of them.
Good, thank you.
Just what he said, I
Oh,
had the
same
same
question.
question.
Take a great lines thing.
And we weren't even like telepathy, no signs or?
No, that was
Stacy,
my
yeah.
question.
Oh, actually,
Are the new ones that we're going to buy, do they have the 9-year window?
Yeah, pretty much moving forward, any Chromebook you buy at this point, now 9 years out of a Chromebook,
they're never gonna get that.
Yeah.
that's,
Not the kids,
Maybe some of them.
Yeah.
You wanna talk about breaking and recycling?
right, right,
I get it.
yep.
So this is gonna replace the ones both in the buildings as well as, because don't the kids have one at home as well, or no? Or is this just to the ones in the
These
buildings?
are in the buildings, yep.
Okay.
I just wanted to follow back, I wanna make sure that you
Yeah.
got that it was requested.
That was good, yeah.
Or we went on to something else, so. Great.
And then the last one I have really is our district-wide desktop. Now our desktops, because they aren't mobile, right? They last longer, but you sacrifice that mobility side. So we've gone everything from 2012 I think is our oldest. Many of them are no longer can't be updated with even Windows updates. We have a lot of hardware issues with our fleet in general. So this one is really looking at some labs and some offices and really just kind of our district-wide desktop. So, and I gave you the details, so if you wanna know exactly, it's a 1-for-1. I said if there's one there, we're just pricing out the cost for another.
So how did you handle like the Chico moving to Abbott, Roosevelt, like it's still 1-to-1?
Yeah, I mean, basically, if there was 5 in Chico with this, we're
Yeah.
just assuming that those 5 will be used in the new location.
Quick question, it's not directly related, but regarding cybersecurity, I assume the ISD and through our cooperative agreement, you all have a cybersecurity guru there. Is there an assessment done of our buildings and our networks to, on a periodic basis, to ensure that we're meeting all of the best practices when it comes to cybersecurity? Do our best to prevent a breach, data breach?
That's a big topic, but yes. So I do
I
want to give you a couple things on that. So there's not just one, there's a whole bench of engineers that are cybersecurity safety engineers. With open schools, and they're continually pushing us for things like 2-factor authentication and our monthly cybersecurity training and our phishing exercises, as well as in the background making sure all of our servers, computers, everything is patched and updated. At the same time, the entire county through Oakland Schools, this summer, we're doing what's called penetration testing of each individual district. And that's where you essentially hire a professional hacking company to come in and try to hack your network. It's ethical hacking. What they're trying to do is get in and find any vulnerabilities within our district at all. And then they report back those vulnerabilities. We do that like about every 3 years. So we're due for another one. So that'll be happening this summer. Then I met with Michigan State Police, CISA, which is the cybersecurity federal program, as well as FBI out of the Detroit office, and did an audit of our system, West Bloomfield system, not Oakland Schools, but West Bloomfield system, and we scored a 4 out of 5 last year. So we're in a good spot, but cybersecurity changes on a minute-by-minute basis. It's a journey, not a destination. So it's just a continual evolution of what we're trying to work with.
Excellent, thank you.
Don't be the one that doesn't catch the fishing.
And I'll make,
Don't click on the link.
I'll make the trade.
There are many things that I said to Jeremy, can I click on this? I don't think it's a little fun, and he's like, no, you can click on it. Yeah.
But there's things you've cut too. There's
Yeah, I
things
have
you've
brought some things, but like be hyper vigilant, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, great, thank you so
Thank you
much.
all.
So those will be coming, to the board and the board meeting, everybody. Thanks.
All right, thank you all.
Appreciate it, drive safe.
Thank you.
See you, Jeff.
Okay, item number 6, our food service bids review. Mr. Jamie Spellman.
Good evening, a topic near and dear to my heart, food service. So we are at the end of our second 5-year cycle with Airmark. Like I had mentioned last year when we did the renewal, you have to bid it out every 5 years. It's mandated by the MDE. So the state makes every district bid it out every 5 years. So we work with the state to develop the bid package. So it's very highly regulated. The state has to approve it. The state actually fills out a lot of our forms that we use in the bid pack when we launch it out to the public. During the bid cycle, we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting, meaning the vendors that want to bid have to be at that meeting, and we had Chartwell's, SFE, and Aramark attend it. From that, on bid day though, we only received bids from Aramark and SFE. The interesting thing is, if you look at the bid sheet, so there's a 1-page bid sheet, and then there's like a 600-page manual or a proposal from each company. If you look at the bid sheet, and that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight, at the top of it, there's a projected meals and meal equivalents per year, and ours is 628,683 meals. That's what we serve typically in a year, and that's a number that's certified by the state. So every month when we do our meal counts, we have to have that certified. That's a lot of meals. It's a lot. And so that number is used in the calculation in the bid price per meal. So you just take the total of the total bid and then divide by the bid price per meal, or that number, and that gives you the bid price per meal. The interesting thing is, if you look at it, in bold red letters, it says, do not alter this cell. It's the MDE fills this cell out for us. And SFE modified that cell. So if you look at SFE's bid, they changed the projected meals to 915,976, which reduces their bid price per meal. So looking at the total bid, so if we look at Aramark's bid, their bid for the whole program for the year was $1,806,895. Just as an example, I'm sorry, $1,824,343.77. We're currently paying $1,806,895. So it's like $17,000 and change more than what we're paying right now. But that puts their bid price per meal at $2.90. If you take SFE's number, their base bid was $1,933,964.79. They show a lower cost per meal because they used a higher number for the projected meals equivalent. So there, if you actually divide it out by our proper number of meals, their cost per meal is $3.76. So it takes them from being the low bid to the high bid if you use the right number. But overall, their program is almost $100,000 more expensive. So we talked to our attorneys and they said by modifying this form, that makes SFE's bid non-responsive and we should reject it. So right now, we're just talking about dealing with Aramark. We have a an interview lined up with Aramark tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So our entire committee is going to be interviewing them to make sure that they have everything that our district needs and wants. One thing I wanted to mention is the food service program is self-sustaining. We actually have it written into the bid that they have a $50,000 guaranteed return every year. So they have to make us a minimum of $50,000 that goes back into our general fund, and that's written into the contract. As you know, we have a huge excess fund balance of almost $2 million. So the food service department's been making money year after year, and now we're working with the MDE to do a spend down, and that's typical. All districts are in that boat right now. But the program is self-sustaining. It's a combination of federal reimbursement and state revenue to cover the cost of the meals. So any questions?
So you bring this to the May meeting? Are you planning on
Yes,
having that-
so we're gonna have the interview tomorrow, as long as we can get the MD, because the MDE, once we interview Aramark, and we have to fill out a checklist and all these forms, we send that to the MDE, and once they approve it, then we're okay to bring it to the board.
My only question is, does this number, and the 600,000 number, that's including breakfast and lunch?
Correct, that's-
For basically everyone, because it's free right now?
Yes.
For everyone that takes it,
Correct.
chooses it. Now, if they don't offer that next year, I mean, we don't know, right?
It's in all the budget proposals.
Right.
In every one of them, so I would be shy.
It's most likely gonna go through, so.
Yeah, so it wouldn't matter. But even if it didn't, let's say in 3 years, they take it away, it would not matter if that number had to go down for us?
No, because it's basically a break-even program.
Alright, thank you.
Mhm.
Hey, you're doing
still up.
7-2, elementary transition moving bids review.
So I worked with Ted, and we had several meetings. Johanna and I met with all the principals multiple times to develop the program for moving all of the furniture and teacher supplies this summer as we consolidate from 5 elementaries down to 4. In addition, we have to move all of Chico out to prepare Chico for the construction project, so that's included in that. It's where we stand right now is we have 44 rooms that have to be moved to another building, because obviously with our K2, 3, 5 current plan, and we're moving to K5, we have to supplement some of the, we have to flip-flop some of the furniture so it's age appropriate. So we're moving 44 rooms to another building, we're moving 21 rooms within the same building, and then we're moving 131 rooms of teacher supplies and boxes. In addition, in the bid, we put in that all the moves have to be done no later than Friday, August 2nd. So this is a tremendous amount of work to make this happen in a short period of time. And then this is a technical term that they use in the industry where we're bringing in tweak crews, and that's, they're gonna have 8 people, so 2 for each elementary school on Thursday, August 15th and Wednesday, August 21st, and those are dates we worked with the principals to pick, to basically go into the building and just work with the teachers if they need a desk moved over here, just to help the teachers get settled in and move things around inside their classroom. So in our bids, we received 3 of them, and Palmer Moving was a low bid at $284,180. We also did collect unit prices from them, so we can add or subtract as we get into the process. We will try and move some of it with our own crews, and then we would, deduct from that price. But it's a lot of work.
Yes. And I will say we have a long history with Palmer.
Mhm.
They've done a good job for us
Yes.
in the past. I will say from past experience, and I know you're all over it, is maps are really important for every worker.
Yes,
So
we
that
have.
they end up in the right rooms.
We have a spreadsheet, and I do want to say.
I'm sure you're totally covered.
Yes, and not only that, but Johanna's very organized and created moving labels, so it makes it, they're gonna be printed up in color, there's gonna be 3 on every box that says move from this room to this room at this building, and they're color coded, so like Gretsch goes yellow, Scotch is red, so right away when they walk into a room, they're like, oh, all the boxes are red, they're going to Scotch. So we tried to make it as simple as possible for the moving crews. It's gonna be a lot of logistics, but we'll get through it.
Okay. Maybe it's,
I assume that these costs, the $284,000, is generally in the budget area that you had anticipated?
Yes.
That we had budgeted for?
Yes, we're allowed, like, for instance, all the moves associated with like Chico and stuff can come out of bond funds too. We verified that with our attorneys.
Okay, but these are again within expectations?
Yes.
Nothing extraordinarily
Mhm.
different? Okay, thank you.
Miss? Meg?
May. All right, thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 8 is our budget. Every time I talk, I want budget development book distribution. This is Ms. Hoover, Executive Director of Financial Services.
So we put together a budget book that we've used in the past.
Always needs its own code.
Yeah, we have some. We'll get reading our board numbers.
This makes the Oakland Schools budget look like a walk in the park.
Really?
We should have.
There's 2 in the
Oh, 2 in the
office.
office. Oh, that is yours.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Alright, so, what?
Oh, I'm the next one.
You're next, so everybody has that, and obviously, do you want us to bring it to the next, just not to the next June study session, bring the budget book, or? When would you like us to bring it back?
Oh,
For discussion.
Whenever you.
Like, on the next, I think it's not till June.
That's when she'll bring in the preliminary.
Right,
Yes,
so
yeah,
I just want for references.
yeah, that's on our budget timeline, I'm sorry, I was not.
I wasn't speaking very clear, so I didn't want to-
So the, on our budget timeline, which let me pull up. Is that on this?
I think it's June, so
It's June because we're meeting with the finance committee end of May to go over some, preliminary. But we're gonna hopefully have some preliminary budgets too, but honestly, will still change because as we get closer to the last regular meeting in June, the state will get closer to the truth on the budget. Well, I mean, yes, we'll get there. So the preliminary look will be at the study session in June that tells us kind of where we're at. Yeah, so finance committee, we're meeting during, the week of May 20th, to prep for that study session, and on June 10th, we'll have a preliminary budget presentation.
Very good. So then agenda item, number 9 is our PowerSchool renewal, so this is also this year.
So, we have the renewal, there's 4 different parts to PowerSchool that we're asking for renewal. The first part is the PowerSchool Student Information System. This is what we use to post and store our grades, take attendance, and store our student data. The second portion is the Enrollment Express. This is how parents first get enrolled in our district, and then we transfer that information over into PowerSchool. From PowerSchool into PowerSchool, from one module to another. The third section we're asking for is our special ed section where we store our IEPs and our compliance. And then the final is, it's a testing site so that when, for instance, we roll the data from one year to another, we can go out and test that data to make sure that we're all set and ready to go for the new year before we put it live. So those are the 4 sections. We actually, in last year, we had a 5th section that we are not asking to renew. It would pull, it was an add-on to the system that would pull in addresses and make them more visual. But that is not a section that we're using a lot, so we've decided not to go ahead with that for next year. The total of all 4 modules we're asking you to approve is $108,121.27. Part of that, 3 of these contracts
actually run not exactly with the school year. And we are working, this year we are going to get them so they all run with the school year. But 3 of them have extra months in them, so 2 of them have 3 extra months, so there'll be 15 months, and 1 of them is actually 13 months. So of the 108,000, 99,828.68 will be paid from next year, fiscal year 25, and then $8,292.59 will be paid from this year's budget.
That's great. Anyone have questions?
Just a quick, a couple of years ago, there was talk about getting away from PowerSchool and going to, and God, the name of the program just. Thank you. I was like going nuts, and we had talked about, you know, the benefits of switching to MyStar. Has that been abandoned, and, you know, where's that discussion before we start renewing contracts?
Yeah, I will tell you that our pupil accountant, Sylvia McCoy, who's currently at the pupil accounting conference, these 3 days, MyStar is, and I would, again, I wanna speak for her, is for her an inferior product. It's something that I don't think, she would be in support of. I've used both systems. PowerSchool has a lot more capacity in terms of, enrollment. We used PowerSchool last year under her direction to implement Enrollment Express, which would really streamline the enrollment process. It's probably why we saw a reduction in the student loss that we saw, that we had predicted. It was basically everything was being done by hand. So MyStar has its benefits because Open Schools uses it and has helped us. But that's something I think for her with those discussions, that's something that department, Diane Stump, her, and Marcia, I think they would be able to better express to you why that, yeah.
I just wanna make sure that it's a dead issue.
No, it's a dead issue.
And that it's not gonna come back a year from now,
No.
going, you know, we really wanna switch. I just wanna make sure it's.
A lot of schools are starting to leave MyStar
Are they?
and going to PowerSchool.
Cause I know
We've
for a
seen
while they
more
were
and
going
more.
both
I
ways.
think it was only a discussion because of the support from
The
open
support from
schools.
open
Yeah.
schools, which is valid. I mean, there's, the PowerSchool community is growing on this side. On the west side, PowerSchool is the typical one used, so it's growing now on the east side. But she's really good at PowerSchool and really has used that to help us streamline a lot of things this year.
Give me what you want, I just wanna make sure, like I said, it's not, you know.
No, we're not gonna come back and change, no,
Or 2 from now and
I
say, guess what?
promise you will not come and ask for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I promise.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it. And thank you for, you have been here a short time and have made a huge difference. Thank you for that. Agenda item number 10 is our strategic plan quarterly update. Mr. Scott, Assistant Superintendent Services.
I'd like to say thanks for the MC shout outs. My wife consistently says I have a face for radio, so you just reaffirmed everything that I ever knew about myself. No, I do really, I love it. I love being in front of the kids and getting them hyped up and seeing them every day in the buildings. It's fantastic, so thank you for that. Good evening, board. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be able to give you an update on where we're at with our strategic plan from a 30,000-foot view from the district level. I'm going to be asking Johanna at some point to join me, and then Rebecca, and then Jamie. They'll talk about personnel and leadership. They'll talk about communication and community involvement, and then Jamie will talk about operations. First, I'm going to talk about academics and programming. As you know, in our strategic plan, our goal is to provide engaging and meaningful, inclusive and rigorous academic programs and extracurricular programs, and we're going to talk about where we're at with that. I've really broken it up into 3 specific areas: our proficiency scales, because that's one of our priority objectives for this year. It was also a priority objective last year. Tier 1 instruction, and then multi-tier systems of support. When it comes to proficiency scales, I'm excited to say that across the board, K-12, all of our professional learning communities whether it's a science PLC at the high school level or a first grade PLC at Doherty Elementary, we have a very high completion rate of those groups understanding where the critical standards lie within their units and getting them mapped out in a year at a glance. That's so important because when you get tied too closely to a curricular resource like an elementary literacy curricular resource or a textbook, you lose track of the fact that sometimes those resources don't include all of your standards. And so our teachers have to be masters of those standards, especially those priority standards that are identified in our proficiency scales. And the fact that all of our groups have those year at a glance is a great step forward. We've also seen as we go through our classrooms with the learning services team and administrators, and we just do those learning environment observations, we're seeing an increased uptick in terms of students being able to interact with them within the classroom. And that's huge because that allows them to set goals, it helps them monitor their progress, and it shows not only that it's happening in teacher planning, which is super important, but it's starting to translate into the classroom. So we're excited about that. With Tier 1 instruction, one of the things that has been super helpful for us is our work at Oakland Schools with the Literacy Essentials of Oakland team. They do 2 different strands of work, the cultivating continuous improvement, and then just the work with lower elementary literacy. And what I found is that the CCI has been so helpful for us from a systems level in terms of us being able to interact with other districts, us being able to interact with leaders from Oakland Schools. It's just been really helpful for us to like layer down and get better with our systems. At the building level and at the professional learning level, all of our PLCs have really been focusing on Tier 1 instruction. You've heard that from building presentations, and it trickles down into our professional learning communities. Again, it goes back to the importance of our PLCs knowing the standards, but also knowing that high level, high quality Tier 1 instruction is what's gonna make sure that our kids don't slip through the cracks and that they don't end up in Tier 2, Tier 3 intervention. You'll be seeing pretty shortly, as we get into June, our social studies team has a proposal for a curricular resource adoption, which is a TCI textbook, and that's gonna help and bolster what they do within their curriculum at the middle school level. New programming, we all know about the band orchestra choir model, which we talk all the time about academics and the importance of literacy and math, and those are absolutely huge. But when you start to also, and when you also start to give our students choices in music, that's gonna increase those proficiency levels as well. So we're really excited about that programming. Also adding STEAM programming at the elementary level with our criteria-based school of choice. I'm just excited about all the different pathways that our kids are gonna have at elementary to prepare them for middle school and beyond. You saw earlier this year, West Bloomfield High School proposed and was passed the interior design class and the advanced accounting classes. We're really excited about those. Our secondary math group is in the process of narrowing down their pilot for Reveal Math. You'll hear more about that in June. And our elementary literacy team has been buried in research, buried in site visits, really working with the Literacy Essentials of Oakland team to identify some pilots for elementary curriculum. So we've been very busy at the Learning Services Department, specifically when it comes to just finding the right resources that match those priority standards and making sure that it's backed by research and making sure that our teachers have a chance to really be thoughtful about the decisions that we make that are really expensive decisions. MTSS, otherwise known as multi-tier systems of support, I alluded to it earlier. Tier 1 instruction has to be number 1, but it's also important that we have a very clear pathway in how to get students Tier 2 intervention and support, and that it needs to be consistent from building to building. We revised and updated and revamped our elementary MTSS handbook. We have ongoing alignment meetings with all the MTSS chairs at every one of the buildings, and that's going to be absolutely huge when we move to the K-5 model next year. We're also excited to see that the momentum is growing at the secondary level with MTSS, at the middle school and high school level. They've really had the support of Oakland Schools. There's a guy named Jay Hafner over there that meets with our teams on a regular basis, and he's been a great resource for us. And also I'd just like to say, just in terms of coherency, we're seeing more and more coherency across the district. So that's academics and programming. I'm going to transition to culture and learning environment next, where our goal is to provide positive, safe, and inclusive environment where all of our students' diverse learning needs are met. And a huge shout out to Sonia for the work that she does each and every day at the building level and with our students to make sure that it is an inclusive environment. Some quick highlights: we're on track for showcase status at all of our elementary buildings and at the transition center. Another thing that I thought was really great is we successfully completed our panorama student surveys. And what I noticed as we just preliminary starting to dig into that data, the overwhelming abundance of the survey items that we gave last year compared to this year, improvements in sense of belonging and students' sense of awareness, their social emotional awareness. And without question, that's a tribute to Ms. James's work, but also our building principals, our teachers who are really just working to create a positive culture in the buildings. I've been really happy and excited about the transition activities that we've done for students at the elementary level. Coming up soon, they're gonna get on buses and they're gonna go to their future elementary building during the school day. Jamie and the transportation team is at their wits' end with us, but we really believe that this is an important opportunity for our kids. Rebecca Heitch has been absolutely amazing in getting swag for the kids and having just a wonderful day, and the building principals are super thrilled with that. Before the field trips, we had principals get on the road and go with Lyle and go to every single elementary building and show that they're a united front and that they're working together to create that cohesive, great experience at every single elementary building. And we had one parent night so far, and another one is coming up in the coming weeks. So they have really rolled up their sleeves across the board to make sure that our students and families feel supported. The Mileage Club is another thing that's going on at the elementary buildings where the kids are able to walk laps and track how many miles they're tracking in, and they get little rewards for that. We've had a student safety screener reboot, K-12, to make sure that we're doing things that when we have, whether it's a threat to self or threat to others, that we're very clear about the systems regardless of the building. And that training has been very instrumental in helping our staff feel supported and knowing what to do. I'm most excited about how Ruler continues to grow across our district. I never thought in a million years that the high school would want to do something that the elementary is doing, but here they are. It's a committed group of high school staff members, not just admin, leading that work and training staff and what the Ruler process is. And they're looking forward to growing that and building that with the student experience at the advisory level next year. Family engagement, I think you'd see across the board a heavy focus on positive interactions with our families, whether it's an email from a middle school staff member to a parent or a phone call from a SHICO staff member. All of our building principals have really pushed that forward, and I think as a result of that, we're seeing more positive focus from students in terms of how they're feeling about their school experience. We talked about the transition activities. I also want to give a shout out to our multilingual family meetings that have happened on a quarterly basis. That's really brought families into the community, and very proud of the work that they're doing. Next, I'm going to kick it over. Actually, before I kick it over, I have one more slide. I've talked about these a lot throughout the year, and it really goes back to what we talked about with our work with CCI, but we have some really clear systems across the district that I think are helping us in terms of our coherency. Whether it's us going into classrooms every quarter, every building, multiple times to see what learning looks like, and actually getting metrics of how those scores are improving, or our building leadership and professional learning community, quarterly goals and key results that relate to our strategic plan, or the semester building growth meetings that we've been doing with Donnie and myself and the building principals and the building leaders, and even our work with, as I mentioned earlier, Oakland schools. All those pieces have helped us grow the systems for academics and culture. Now I'm going to kick it over to Johanna, if you want to come on up and talk a little bit about personnel and leadership. Absolutely.
All right, so we're continuing to focus. Eric's not here tonight, so I'll talk over his points. Something new that we implemented last year that we're continuing to do this year is onboarding training throughout the year for new teachers. So in the past, if a teacher missed that first day of onboarding, they just didn't have onboarding. So now we have quarterly onboarding so that new teachers have access to all of that information very close to when they're hired. So that's important for our new teachers. Teacher retention is a big topic in Michigan and in the country, and we know that making sure that the teachers have the tools that they need and the information that they need early on is important. Second of all, also continuation from last year, but I think further developed this year, and Liz Costello has done a really great job with the new teacher professional development. We have additional sessions for teachers, for new teachers, teachers within their first 2 years of teaching, and teachers who are new to West Bloomfield in their first year. Just to continue to provide that support, particularly in the areas of classroom management and some of the areas that a brand new teacher sometimes can struggle with. New this year, we are looking to build a bench of future leaders who can lead at all levels in the district.
Absolutely.
So we launched a leadership development cohort. We had over 30 of our teaching staff from the WBEA participate in this development cohort. It was, I think, a really great experience, both for Sonia and I, who coordinated it, but also for the teachers. I think we all got to know each other and know a little bit about people's dreams and aspirations and passions for leadership. And that culminated in an experience for all of them to shadow one of the leaders in our district. So we had them out in different buildings, and with me and Sonia and Scott, all of us shadowing. So we've had quite a bit of positive feedback from that, and an ask for a second year program for that. So we will develop that and offer that next year. And then Eric's robust hiring process is excellent. We've just seen an example of that. The process is ongoing for our new leadership position in special education, and he really has a super robust, very clean, but also extensive opportunity for everyone who's going to be working with that person to interact, to make sure that they have an opportunity to engage and to give feedback. So that is definitely, I think, one of Eric's major strong suits is the hiring process.
Thank you, Johanna.
All right.
We're gonna call up Rebecca Fannin next. She's gonna talk a little bit about communication and community involvement.
Thanks. All right, so I am excited that our elementary logos are rolling out. We were thrilled to bring those to you earlier this year, and we've been putting all of this information in a place where our staff can access it, but then also making concerted efforts to go out to different groups of staff and say, hey, have you seen this in the newsletter? And then, hey, as I sit shoulder to shoulder with you, do you know how to access these? Do you know where this is? And then can you search and destroy the W's that are still out there? So we're working hard on that, but we've made great progress. We have a style guide that's on the staff section of our website where all of that information is housed. But like I said, we've been doling it out in bits and pieces because sometimes it's a little less overwhelming than an 18-page PowerPoint on all of the things you might need for branding. We have also continued to do training in our social media group, in our ad council, and for example, one of the things that Scott talked about was our work with our English language learners and the staff that works with them. And so we've been working hard to show them the tools that we've specifically invested in because of their translation capabilities. And so it's been really exciting to see that and to have families give us feedback saying they appreciate receiving this. And so our emails that go out typically are viewed by the languages that parents choose, between 48 and 60 languages every week. And we watch to see how many different people are reading our pieces, how many people are, how long they're reading them, how they're accessing them. Is it on their phone? Which for parents, it's mostly on their phone. And for staff, if we send it out before the end of the day, it's kind of interesting to flip-flop. If we send our staff newsletter out after 4 p.m., it almost automatically changes from a 30 to 40% desktop to a 60%, well, I'm sorry, I should rephrase that. If we send it out during the day, our staff majority will read them on their desktop computer. If we send it out after 4 o'clock, I would say about 70% of them are reading it on their mobile phone, but it's exciting to see how many people are reading, how many people are clicking through, how long they're staying on pages, and what it is that's of interest to them. And then that feeds what we keep sharing in different places, like our data-driven communications and our targeted campaigns. So we use that information when we developed our millage informational materials. When we're reaching out to the residents who have children that aren't currently in the West Bloomfield School District, we looked at what are they responding to on our social media, what is it that they like in our newsletters, and we intentionally use that sort of information as we're recruiting them back to our schools. We'll also be using that for a very targeted and small but important school of choice second round, which is opening up shortly. And a lot of that will be done on social media because it's cost effective, we can track it, and that's where the kids are. So we're excited to share the amazing things that are happening in our schools through those ways. We're also looked, and it's fun because I'm coming up on almost having a whole school year under my belt. So I'm to the point now where I feel like I can start changing
Because
some
you've been here
things.
for like 5 years.
Yeah. I may be in a good way now,
Yeah,
I hope.
we could, for sure.
So I'm excited to look at, I've been delving into our budget to see how we could do things more economically. What is it that's worked really well? What's worth the investment? And so there'll be some changes coming forward in the next year. But one of the things that I love is our community partnerships. And so, like Scott mentioned, the transition events have been well attended. We're really excited about those opportunities. And one of the things that I love is that as Rebecca Heights was planning activities, she wasn't afraid to send an all call and say, hey, who can help me? I need help with, and she gave a very specific task. So as I was driving to my son's graduation, I figured I have an hour and a half in the car. I'll cut messages out for these little kids that we're gonna put in their little boxes that they have. And so they're all gonna have personal messages that the team here was willing to wrap around and say, hey, and that's special. It's important to have a team like that that's willing to say, this is important, what do you need? I'll help you. It might not be my department, but we're all in this together. So I really love that piece. I already mentioned the English as a second language, but one of the things that Andrea Frank and I have been doing is going out into the individual schools. We did this specifically for our English as a second language teachers, and we sat shoulder to shoulder with them to show them how to use SMORE because it has such a great translation service. But while we were in the schools, and it was typically about a half a day a piece at the different schools, other people were popping in. So we're gonna continue to do that and just be out and present in the buildings, because since then we've been getting really great stories and people love to hear what's happening in our classrooms. And so it's helping us make those connections. Like we do at Optimist and Rotary, I am attending both the Kego Harbor and the West Bloomfield Optimist groups. Tomorrow there's a celebration at the high school at 7 o'clock for another scholarship.
7 or 7:30?
I would go at 7. I believe it officially starts at 7:30. Yeah.
I'll be there 7.
Go at 6:30, it's better to be early than late.
You gotta think about it. You definitely think about the,
Yeah, there's
Kids
always.
come early. Yeah.
Got it.
All right. And then I was encouraged maybe not to say that our attendance at board meetings has been spectacular the last few months.
All right.
That's funny.
Thank you.
That's funny.
You're welcome. All right.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Next, I'd like to call up James Cavalier, who's gonna talk a little bit about operations.
So if we think about a normal school construction project, the teams start designing that in the spring and design all through summer. They bid it out in the fall to complete the work the following summer. This past September, when you approved the strategic visioning plan, we started at that point. So we really had to push our teams of designers and engineers and our construction manager to make all these projects happen this summer. So we're really proud to be able to do the Gretschko and Scotch playgrounds. Those are gonna be amazing. We're starting those pretty soon. The transitions renovation, the high school special ed renovation, high school kitchen renovation, Scotch magnet renovation, and the high school stadium scoreboard. That's a lot of work that was done in a short period of time. So we're very much looking forward to having those successful projects this summer. Additionally, we've made a lot of headway on our Chico design. We were able to bring it in on budget through the schematic phase. So now we're working on our design development, and then we'll move into construction drawings. We are planning to do a fall bid package for site work and for foundations for that building. So we are going to get started on that in the fall. So we got a lot of work done in a short period of time. We've really been focusing on safety and security. As you know, a couple months ago I brought to you the district-wide door hardware safety replacements that are going to be happening shortly. We did install emergency exits in the stadium this summer based on our SEC report. We also put in traffic control gates at the high school to protect that, to protect our transition students in that outer ring around the high school. And then we, not on here, but we did complete the night lock shades at all of the buildings. So really, safety and security is gonna be a big focus as we move forward. We're gonna keep ticking off all of those items that are recommended by SEC and continuing to look for other things to make this as safe as possible. The last thing I wanted to mention, not on here, but we are officially, our first Apple Island tour is going out tomorrow. Since the first time before the pandemic, so we're pretty excited. A lot of logistics had to happen. We had to get the island cleared, we had to buy boats, we had to, get the bus drivers retrained and safety and boater safety and first aid. So it's all coming together and we're launching that tomorrow. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamie. That concludes our strategic planning update.
Great. Thank you. Anyone have any follow-up questions? Very comprehensive, thank you.
Thank you.
Great work. A
Yeah,
lot of work's been happening this year.
I wanna thank everyone, because with everything going on this year, for us to be able to collectively work on these projects, and, the board's been involved with a lot of these. It's, this summer, we're going to see a lot of what we
Can I just ask one question, Johan? The leadership part, is it a year or two of the same people, or are you gonna start a new cohort next year? Or how's it? You said second year.
We'll offer a second year program for the people who are budgeted, and then we'll also offer a
First year was fifth grade. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Agenda, item number 11 is NEOLA updates. Our first read, Dr. John Javanskis are gonna review it, but the board policy committee, Carol, Deborah, and I are also available for questions.
So the policy committee made up of Stacy Brickman, Carol Finkelstein, and Deborah J. Evans met on April 11, where we reviewed all of the NEOLA policy updates with Wayne Wright from NEOLA. These policy updates, there's not anything too crazy on these updates. A lot of them you're going to see where it says technical corrections, which are just grammatical errors, pronouns, things of that nature. You're gonna see one policy that's been rescinded, which means we'd be removing it from policy. The reason is because the law that ties to that policy has been rescinded by the state government. In your packet, you're gonna be able to see what's our current language and then how it's been adjusted. So it'll even go into showing you options that we have currently selected, but it also just shows you what the recommended changes are.
So if there's any questions, red means the lead, green is new language, and there's checked off things that are already in our policy. If there's any questions about that? All good? Okay, we're closing the order, does anyone have anything? I just wanna, remind board members that there will be a mini study session before our May 20th meeting, because Oakland Schools, their election for, Oakland Schools ISD board members, we have to do it in 2 meetings. So we'll discuss candidates, at a mini study session right before our 7 o'clock board meeting. It's at the high school.
Like 6:30?
Yeah, 6:30, and it should be, it'll be a regular meeting but we have to do it in 2 meetings based on their bylaws, their laws.
That is written in state law.
With
It must be-
ISDs, yeah.
You must.
And because of the way our calendar, our meeting's already set, we would have to have another meeting next week, which is ridiculous just for that. So plan on 6:30 is one item, and then we'll, vote on candidates at the May 20th meeting. And also, what we didn't bring for this evening review, but will be on, the board agenda for May 20th is the Oakland Schools General Fund fiscal year 25 budget. And I'm sure you'll just talk to it then.
Yeah.
But we did not bring it for tonight, so.
Can I just add one more
Yeah.
thing? So tomorrow night, we're doing a candidate forum. There's 4 people seeking these 2 seats, but you will all get videos. You don't have to schlep out to Oakland Schools. It's gonna be just like it was 2 years ago. Each one is an individual, so we don't play off each other. It's 4, you will see, actually, I think there's only 3 or 4 going to respond as of this afternoon. So you'll get little videos you can watch of the interviews for the candidates. And we do that we always do that. OCSBA does that. No, it won't be Zoom, you'll get the videos that you can watch. Thank you, Tony Austin from Lanphier.
I think it was Zoom when it was COVID.
Yeah, it was Zoom before, and then, but then 2 years ago, we did it on Zoom, what we did is we did it on Zoom, and, this.
Was that last year or the
It was new, it's only 2 years, but, we now have Tony Austin on the board, and he is a videographer, and so he's gonna come, and we're gonna do them in person, and he's gonna record them, and yeah, so you won't have to worry about the video expiring or any of that stuff, like we did with Zoom. So.
I'm going to Washington University, and my daughter's graduating with a master's. So, I'm gonna share that.
It's a beautiful write-up on her.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
Is that this week?
That is this week. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Truly a Mother's Day.
Truly Mother's Day.
Okay, and agenda item number 13 is a closed session to discuss security planning, emergency operations plan, A1K, contract negotiations, A1C, and superintendent year-end evaluation. Somebody have it? Or Carol, here's that. You have it right
Yeah, it's
here?
out of here.
Okay.
Yes, I move to go into closed session for the purpose of security planning and emergency operations plan, contract negotiations, and the superintendent's year-end evaluation.
Do I have a second? Ashley. Motion to go into closed session to discuss the security planning, EOP. I didn't pay it, right? Contract negotiations and year-end has been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? I'll do a roll call. Carol?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Holzer?
Yes.
Davis? Rickman votes yes. Okay, so we'll go into closed session. Let's see what time it is. 8:02.